Hello everyone, and welcome to the first Dungeon Dice Monsters Frequently Asked Questions video. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and sorry it's been a couple months since I made my last video, but I'll touch up more about that later in this video. In the background, I'll be playing the most up-to-date build of Dungeon Dice Monsters. Anyway, there's a lot to cover, so let's get started.
What language and tools do you use to make Dungeon Dice Monsters?
This is probably the most common question that I get, and the answer isn't as straightforward and as easy to answer as one might think. The language I use is not a language you can just download online. It's a made-up language that me and my friends have been developing over the years. It started back in 2010 when my friend had a huge interest in basically combining libraries and designing his own language for his own use, especially for animation since that's what he was into. And since I knew how to program video games at the time, he wondered if I can help him, and of course I didn't say no. So we developed it, and this is the first time I'll announce the name of the language that we created. We call it the Ideal Language, and what it's kind of like is a combination of Python, C++, and BASIC. And just recently, last year, another friend, while I was working, I had the Dungeon Dice Monsters code up, and he saw it, and he found interest in it, and he asked me if he can basically apply these modules he had to the language, and if I could test him. And I said, sure. And it allowed me to do all sorts of extra things to Dungeon Dice Monsters. Some things weren't as good, and some things were pretty cool that he added. And as far as tools go, I just use an IDE. I don't use any like engines or anything like that. However, I have a special compiler that actually compiles this. I'm not a big fan of just kind of showing off all the different tools I like to use. I don't know why, but it's just, I guess, a personal thing for me, mainly because when I'm programming, I like to keep it a little personal, which is why I normally don't show a whole lot of code. But that should answer that, and I'll touch up more on the whole engine thing in another question later in this video.
Where can I download the game?
This is another common question I get, and I guess because I don't touch up on it on all of my videos. However, the game cannot just be downloaded publicly right now. And the reason why is because, well, there's actually a bunch of reasons that come to my mind. For one, the game's not ready to go. And one thing I don't really need is having it publicly available, and a bunch of people are telling me about these bugs I'm already aware of. Only a few people have access to the game, and they're contributors, like people who basically have submitted images and stuff, or people who just donated to Patreon. I almost call it Python, but to Patreon Online. And when you donate to Patreon, you're not donating to buy the game or anything like that. You're donating just to help me out for creative purposes. It can't be for the game, mainly because I believe that's illegal. And I definitely don't want to get in trouble, and I'm sure everyone who's following the project doesn't want the project to have to be pulled down in any way. So when you basically, and the people who have donated have made that clear that they're only donating it just to, help me out financially. And I appreciate it for all those who have.
When will the game be completed?
This question is kind of an interesting question because there's no way I can really answer it. And neither do I want to make a prediction because I don't want people to set their hearts on a particular date and then the game's not done. Mainly because anything can happen, because there's a lot of things in life that just happen. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, about something that just recently happened. Anyways, I can't really tell you. Originally, I was hoping that the game would take less than a year. However, I kept on adding more and more and more stuff to it, making the game more and more complex. However, the game, to be honest, can probably be released at any point. Even now, if I really wanted to, but it'd just be incomplete and just a lot of stuff just wouldn't work, and I'd have to basically cut off things. Now, what I was thinking about doing is basically not making the game any more complex than it already is, and basically just finishing off whatever I have, releasing it. A lot of the features won't be there, and they'll be actually taken down so that we can access them. It's an idea I had, but I think when I brought that up a couple videos back, people said just complete it as best as you can, we'll wait. I believe I even made a survey about that too, and most of the answers I got was, I can wait. The more I wait, the better it gets, or something like that. So, again, if a lot of people cannot wait and they really want to play this game, it's fine by me. I can basically just finish off the work that I have. In other words, not add any more monsters, finish off their effects and stuff like that, make sure everything works, throw out a beta, and then after that, release the game, and people have fun. I just keep on updating it over time, which can be updated quite often. However, unfortunately, if I was to do that, it would not have online play, which is something that I really did want in the game. But anyways, you guys just let me know what you think.
What monsters are already in the game?
Now, I'm not sure if I misunderstand this question or not. I have gotten it a couple times. Um, I don't know if you want me to list the monsters. Just watch the videos. All the monsters are there. There's several videos that other people have posted at this point where they slowly go through the entire list of monsters, which there's a card on the right side of the game when you're in the dice construction screen that shows each monster and a little bit of their information on their effect and whatnot.
Why don't you like choo-choo trains?
What are you talking about? I like choo-choo trains just fine.
Why don't you like engines?
Now, this isn't a common question, but an individual brought it to my attention, and it did concern me. I'm not sure if I'd said something in one of my videos that made it seem like I don't like engines or something like that. I know I've said multiple times I don't use engines, and it is a common question as to what engine do you use, and I don't use any. However, I have no problem with engines. If you want to use an engine, go right ahead. I think they're wonderful things for people. They get the job done, they help them out. I just don't use them because I don't need them. To be honest, it probably does make some work faster. However, I like having full control over my games. Maybe engines give you that ability nowadays, but I just don't have an interest. And there's multiple reasons why I don't. Now, there's a similar issue when it comes to internet programming, which I seem to be getting more jobs on internet programming than with software development for some reason. Now, an individual will come to me and ask, how do they start? Should they work in WordPress? I'm hearing bad things, I'm hearing good things. And I'll tell them, look, man, it's not about what you hear, it's about your own personal preference. If you want to work with WordPress, if it works for you, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in it. If you want me to develop your website in WordPress because it's easier for you, then go right ahead. It doesn't make a difference to me. Now, if a video game developer did the same thing with me, can you do something in this engine? Then go right ahead. I was first introduced to engines before they were even really popular. I got introduced to Unity. That happened, and I just didn't really have as much fun working with the engine as I did going from the ground up. And that's just me. Now, to go further on this question, this individual kept on talking about, oh, you shouldn't undermine them because the industry does need them and all that stuff. I'm not sure who the individual really is, or, if they have a game development background or whatnot. I'm not going to be, questioning all that good stuff. But anyways, as far as the interviews I've had and when I talk to managers and when they ask about qualifications and stuff, it never once has ever been asked, can you work with an engine? If you're going to work with this game with us, can you do this engine? Can you do that? Never, ever, actually. The questions I get in all interviews, to be fully honest, is they're more concerned with performance. They want you to know the language. Now, the reason why this question was a huge concern to me is because with my videos, I want to help you guys in some way. I'm not saying Dungeon Dice Monster is going to solve any type of world issues, but however, just like when I used to make Blitz Basic tutorials on my YouTube account, and people used to like it, my videos are here to kind of put you guys in the right direction of when it comes to programming or anything. Now, if you're looking for a job, and game development or not, probably I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 times your interview is going to require you to somehow show your performance, not through an engine. I can guarantee you that. If the company works with C#, they expect you to know C#. In other words, they're going to want you to somehow answer questions regarding C#. And if it deals with databases, they're definitely going to have you. How does it integrate with SQL? Now, here's some questions I'll throw at you. If you guys don't know what they are, it's time to probably start studying. If you guys really want to get into the software development field. Now, the questions I get, which sometimes I think are silly questions, but for instance, what's big O? And what's the runtime of a sorting algorithm? What's the best sorting algorithm for this situation? One situation would be I have a list of names. What kind of sorting algorithm will optimize basically this program? Another thing they might ask you about is recursion. And I guarantee you they'll ask you about recursion. That's no exaggeration. They'll have you draw it out. They'll probably even have you draw a picture. So those are just some examples. Sorry this question was longer, or the answer to this question was longer than I wanted to, but I really need to just get that out of the way real quick.
Can I be a beta tester? Beta? 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 How do you say it, Jude?
Well, to answer your question, I pronounce it beta. but other people pronounce it differently, so it's up to you how you want to pronounce it. As for if you could be a beta tester or not, well, the beta's not out yet, and however, to really be a beta tester, I'm not really going to give it out to just everyone, at least right away, at first, when it first initially comes out. There's particular few who have really helped me since the beginning who will definitely have access to beta. But once it's out, and once I feel more comfortable with it being publicly available, then you'll be able to test it. As for now, it's still in alpha, which is the stage before that. So just give it a little bit more time. Please be patient, and don't give up on me quite yet. I promise I am working on it, and I do want to bring it to you guys as soon as possible.
Can you make my suggested monster?
Yeah, I can make any suggested monster, and it doesn't take any time really. I can just add it in. Making the ability takes a little bit of time. However, in I think all my videos, I put in a link to a monster maker survey type of thing. I do advise you to take advantage of the monster maker survey. It is the best way you can get the monster that you want made the way you want it. There will be some adjustments just so that way the game is fair. But please do use it. I do pay attention to it, and I do use it quite often.
How can I get the alpha?
All you have to do to gain access to alpha is contribute in some way. You can contribute by giving me images or audio or background music, any of that. Any way where you can see your work in action is good for me, to be honest. At this point, I can use all the help I can get. Unfortunately, I haven't been getting any help at all. Also, people who promise, and though I did trust a couple on this, they never made a video, unfortunately. Hopefully you guys still do. If you're willing to make a alpha review, and I mean like a long one, not like a 5-minute one or whatnot, then yeah, then you can get it that way. So for all you video makers, please do make videos. That is one way to easily get the alpha.
Who is this owl that is talking? Hoot hoot.
The owl that you hear speaking is a very attractive and special individual. Hoot hoot.
Is the game almost complete?
I left this question for last because it's probably going to have the longest answer, but I want to answer it completely and honestly. The game is not complete, however, I can release it at any time incomplete because it works just fine. The main gameplay is finished, just some of the options I would take down just that way there's no crashes. But a lot of the monsters won't react the way I want them to. They'll move, they'll attack, they'll defend like they should. However, some of them, like for instance Strike Ninja, will not have the 3 movement skill that he should have. Strike Ninja moves normally, but once you move him 3 spaces, he must always move 3 spaces. And you cannot go back to 1 space until your next turn. Now that's another thing you have to keep in mind. So just because, even though this concept sounds so simple, because it could be so simply done on a physical board, it's not so easy as far as programming goes. Now, I'm sure people are going to say, oh, it's easy, I can do it, blah, blah. However, you have to keep in mind that there is a lot of code involved with this game, and making a mistake that deals with movement, which is such a common feature in dungeon dice monsters, because you have to move in the game, you can mess anything up where other monsters start to move on their own, or move beyond 1 space per movement, and all sorts of things you have to keep in mind that can possibly go wrong. So that's why when the code gets more and more, kind of clustered with different things, you got to be careful with these things, and so that's why I've been holding that off. However, to be fully honest, I believe at one point Strike Ninja's ability was complete and did work at one time. However, that goes on to the next part of completion. Originally, the game was at Alpha 5.1, which was given to only one person so far as I know, unless the other people who have access to the Alpha downloaded it more recently, but I didn't tell anyone about it. Originally, I wanted him to make a video. However, he never did, and that was going to be the next update video, which is one reason why an update video didn't come out for so long, is because I relied on someone to make it for me. Because originally, at one point, I felt like the game was getting to a point where there was a lot of people catching on to the game and were really interested in it. So I figured instead of me making update videos, I was going to have other people do it. In fact, the girl who's doing all the different questions in this video, I wanted her to actually make update videos for me as well, which she was okay with doing. However, she has school and work, which I think her full-time job right now, and she doesn't have a whole lot of time. So the help that I needed wasn't necessarily there, and the one person unfortunately there's only one, actually there's a couple people, come to think of it, who I asked to make videos. Unfortunately, they never did make videos, so that's why there's been so much of a drought on videos. Now the next thing happened, which is awful. one of my hard drives broke, and it was the hard drive to my main computer or laptop. I mean, so what happened was, without any warning, I guess the heads, I guess the way that the hard drive is made, and it's a common thing for this type of hard drive, which I didn't really think about, to be honest, because there wasn't any sign of it breaking. The heads basically got close to the platter and basically made contact, and I guess it bent one. The reason why I've been holding off on his is because it breaks the general rule of the game. And anytime you have something, at least when I have something that has to break the general rule of the game, you have. However, I did do my own diagnostic as to what was wrong with the hard drive, and what I figured was the head did break, and I know that for a fact. However, I wasn't sure that it actually scratched enough the hard drive for it to really corrupt everything, because it only happened for a quick second. I turned off the computer, took out the hard drive, and did a small diagnostic. Not opening it, but a special diagnostic from a special tool I have that allows me to determine if the hard drive is still functional or not. However, the head was definitely broken, and it wasn't going to move at all, which was a good thing because it wasn't causing any more damage. However, I did send it to a service people, supposedly supposed to be the best in the world. I ended up finding out that that's just a reputation they made up for themselves, and they couldn't do anything about it. There was nothing they could do. They said nothing was uncoverable. When I looked at reviews, I don't want to bash anyone, so I'm not gonna say the name of the company, just as I don't really say names about anyone except for myself. Anyway, the reviews of this company were actually quite negative. However, it was actually a very, very well respected computer maintenance guy who told me about them, and a lot of people actually heard of these people, to be honest, and they basically think that they are the best of the best, but I only think it's because of the area I live in, because they're nearby. So people just know about them because they're nearby. However, they are not the best. I found other people who know how to do impossible things with hard drives, and I don't believe my hard drive is as bad as they say it is. I think it's just the fact that my hard drive, the situation about it, was not a simple situation to fix, so they just kind of just said, oh, forget it. Let's just tell this kid, because he sounds like a kid, that his hard drive is useless. And they probably figured there was nothing but just school documents on it, because I do sound younger than I actually am, but I'm actually a little older than my voice allows me to sound, which is fine. I don't mind that. Anyway, so that happened. So guess what? The most recent build of Dungeon Dice Monsters was on that hard drive. However, I do have backups of Dungeon Dice Monsters, but I don't have the last few updates of Dungeon Dice Monsters on there. However, it didn't send me that far back. I've already been working on the game again, bringing back everything. Luckily, all the most difficult things that I had worked on the game have not been lost. That's that. I've been working on it. So just so that way you guys feel safe and don't lose faith in me, I do have a backup hard drive where I normally do back up everything to it right away. I went and invested in a terabyte or close to a terabyte solid state drive, and that's what's running right now, is a solid state drive. It should last around 10 to 20 years depending on how often you use it and how often you write. However, when I spoke to other service people, they have also told me about how they can definitely get the information back. And they've heard of the company that I sent their drive to. And almost every company I have talked to after them have told me, yeah, we've gotten drives from them. They give up too quickly, mainly because they are a very big company and they don't want to spend too much money or too many resources when it comes to drives. Basically, if they don't think your drive is important, and they don't think they're going to make quite a profit. Like, they don't want to basically risk their time and realize, oh, we didn't get anything, and we had to spend all these resources trying to fix his hard drive and got nothing out of it. Basically, in other words, if they don't think my hard drive is worth fixing, then they're not going to try fixing it. They're just going to come up with some stupid thing, because trust me, there was a huge lack of information when I asked them tons and tons of questions like, what exactly is wrong with it? What causes it to be impossible? How the heck are you telling me that every single inch of my hard drive is completely scratched up and corrupt? Because they told me there was no way to get anything. There's nothing. Not a single file. The entire thing is completely scratched. I highly doubt that. It's a very, very rare and very unlikely that can happen. Anyways, yeah, that's that. Whew, man, I didn't mean to totally go on to that whole tangent, but that's what happened. And don't worry, getting back to the point that I was before, it's going to be no problem at all. Now, it's some really good news to tell you about. The fact that I've been basically redoing stuff, it's allowing me to improve on what used to be there to make it even better, to be honest. And yeah, the game will be a lot better than it was before. So, yeah, hopefully you guys don't hate me for what happened because not a lot has been lost. Trust me, like I said, I back up all my stuff. And that's one of the reasons why there was such a delay in production is because when I sent my hard drive to the first company, I was hoping that they would retrieve something. And so I waited. And because I waited, it caused me to have a huge setback. I should have been working on Dungeon Dice Monsters because I have other hard drives and computers to work with. So, yeah. So this is kind of a clumsy thing. I know, however, I guarantee you it's not every day this happens. It's a very rare situation that a hard drive would just break without any kind of signs. There was no clicking. This hard drive is relatively new. It's like only a year and a half old. And it doesn't have a year of use on it. So, yeah, hard drives typically last around 3 years, they say. And then that's the time when you should probably be thinking about getting another one. Yeah, so that's that. Again, hopefully it doesn't cause you guys to be upset because the game is still around. As you can see, it's being played in the background and everything is okay. I promise you. Anyway, that's about it for me. Again, if you're having any interest in basically making videos or whatnot for this game, testing it out, whatnot, please send me a message. And yeah, there has been quite a large pickup on the game and interest while I've been gone the last, like, what is it, 4 months or something like that, or maybe 5. So hopefully that continues to occur and more of you guys come on board. I'm really happy. I love questions, so don't be shy. Ask more questions. I'll answer them all, hopefully. Normally I respond to every single comment I get, but since YouTube is getting worse and worse by the month, sometimes when you guys send me comments, I don't get any notifications for some reason. I don't know why. I haven't checked through my email because I check every email I get on my YouTube account, my whole Gmail, whatever it is, account. And yeah, sometimes I'll go to an old video, look at the comments just because I want to see if I miss any. And yeah, there's 1, 2, 3. I missed 3. Great. And I see that's been like 4 months since they sent it, and I feel bad. I'm not ignoring anyone because I, have plenty of time to send a quick comment. So please do. I do love you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Take care.
Truly is a turkey boy. Gobble, gobble, gobble.